Let's say our
Okay.
goal is we want to create more fun at work. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to set it up this way. I had a nonprofit leader, and she's got a small nonprofit that she leads. And she said, our work is very stressful. A lot of nonprofit work is pretty stressful work. And she said, how we would combat it in the past was we'd all come into the office and we'd be playful with each other, and we, just have fun with each other, and we'd also share personal things going on with each other. And that was kind of our natural antidote to the stress. She said
Perfect.
over the pandemic, we couldn't go into the office. We couldn't see each other. We weren't really doing those things. We weren't really being playful. We weren't really sharing personal things. So all we had left was the stress.
Well, that was a self contained limitation they put on themselves, because we can't do the things that we did person to person. We can't do on Zoom. But that's a fallacy right there. Anything you can do person to person, well, most anything you can do it on Zoom too. So give you a technique, for example, and person to person, it's called a praise barrage. And I got this from a friend of mine that worked in management at the city of San Diego, and they would on occasion, as when they're together as a group, they would say, okay, hey, we haven't done a praise barrage in a while. Let's take 5 minutes and go around the group, and the manager would, as they pointed to each employee on the team, the game was everyone was to say out loud the things they most value working with that person. The thing that I really, Charlie, let's start with Charlie. Charlie's a great team member. He's always willing to pitch in. I love that about him. Okay, Jane, and they would just, in 5, 10 minutes. And you can't help but have everyone feel, wow, that's great. And anything you've been called out that you're good at, you can become great at, because you get what you reinforce. This is, one of the top rules of performance management is what you reinforce, you will get more of, guaranteed, in any relationship.
So this year's been a tough year. I'm stating the obvious. I mean, we all know it's been a tough year, but what I also know is we all could use more, not only positivity, but more fun, and frankly, more recognition. And so my show today is all about that, fun and recognition. And my guest today is Dr. Bob Nelson, and he's written over 31 books on the topics of recognizing employees, creating more fun, boosting morale. And we're going to talk about his latest book, Work Made Fun Gets Done. But specifically, he's going to give us some great tips on how we can recognize those around us, whether it's our employees, our team members, our manager, even our significant others. So I hope you pay real close attention to Bob and all the tips that he gives us, because there's some great things that I've written down that I will summarize at the very end. So stay tuned.
The Workplace Therapist Show is sponsored by the Leadership Foundry. The Leadership Foundry brings a cutting-edge, real-world approach to leadership development. The Leadership Foundry partners with each client organization to create a custom-tailored experience, virtual or in person, that combines innovative leadership content, world-class facilitators, and one-on-one coaching to ensure your leaders have everything they need to grow and thrive. To find out more and to design your one-of-a-kind program, visit myleadershipfoundry.com.
Dr. Bob, I am so thrilled to have you on the show today. I'm so thrilled about our topic. I mean, I think we all can say over the last 12 months, as much as we've tried, it's really hard to have the kind of fun virtually that maybe we used to have when we were in person. And I think a lot of people, me included, are excited to have more fun with folks, hopefully in person, as we around the end of this pandemic, and would love to learn a little bit from you about that. So thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So maybe a good starting place before we jump into some of your kind of best thinking around this. I'd be really curious, particularly for our listeners, to hear a little bit about you. Share with us a little bit about your journey, and then what are some of the things that you're up to today?
Okay, well, I've been very blessed on my journey. Feels like I have a charmed life. I started writing early. I remember when I lived in Georgia. I remember in high school. I remember a English teacher passing out papers, stopped at my desk and waved this paper and said, "Best paper I had in 5 classes." I'm going, what? And I reread it, and so I guess that planned to see that I had some type of gift that I kept at. So now many books later, I still love it. Writing's hard, it's exposed thinking, which is it's very difficult on a lot of different levels. And so the process is writing, and it's also a lot of work to promote writing. But I learned along the way that I knew I could write books, and then I got focused on what it takes to do a book that really helps people and gets to people. So I had a epiphany on that and became more of a promoter, in addition to being a writer. So those are some. Along the way, I got a BA in communication and an MBA from Berkeley, and a PhD working with Dr. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management.
Yeah.
Now passed on. So I've also notably worked with Ken Blanchard, who wrote the 1 Minute Manager for a decade, and most recently I'm a personal coach for Marshall Goldsmith, who's the #1 executive coach in the world. So I don't, somehow things lined up in different ways. I've been very blessed to work with some great people and learn from them. So, a lot about life is passing it on and helping others. So what I feel anyway. So, purpose of life, plant a tree, have a kid, write a book. So tried to check those off.
Well, and you haven't written just one book. If I recall, 31 books. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And and they all seem to, and it sounds like a large theme of your books is around motivation, keeping people engaged in the workplace. In this case, Work Made Fun Gets Done is your most recent book, right? So it's,
yes.
is
How
that fair?
How could you not want to have more fun today, especially after the last year and a half? It's at all times people want to have more fun, and the younger generation, which is currently millennials and Gen Z, are the largest generation in the workplace, and they definitely want to have more fun. So that's very important to them. And so companies have to, if you care about attracting talent and holding on to it, you got to take some of these soft topics seriously. It can't be, well, we pay them pretty good, or I just read where Goldman Sachs in New York City, they said, well, if you could afford to, if you could go to a restaurant in New York City, you can come in to work, and everyone has to come into work. And well, okay, you can make that claim, but you will lose, a third to half of your workforce because we don't have to come into work anymore. Guess what? Headline.
Yeah. So I'd be really curious on your perspective then. So when you think about like fun and how we create fun, I don't know if you want to talk about it in terms of virtually or how we do it in person or best practices. I'm going to leave that kind of
any way you want.
You.
In the book, we actually looked at it from very personal, from your own work and how to make a task you're doing. And everybody in any job has rote and routine tasks that you just gotta suit up and get done, and how you can make those items fun. If you work with other people, the interactions and the relationships is a natural. It's not that hard to make that fun. And then of course, if you're part of an organization, instead of waiting for someone else to get enlightened, or the CEO to say, well, we need to have more fun, which some of them do, by the way, how to get going at different levels. And just on that note, I remember the president of Belmont College in Nashville. He took a sabbatical to went and visit high-performing companies for a year. And he came back and said one of the things that they all had in common, they were all fun places, and we need to have more fun here. And he launched a fun committee, made up of volunteers, and just gave them the task. I want you to focus on fun things, and if you need some budget, we'll make that happen. But a lot of times you don't need budget. You just need an attitude and a creativity and a willingness to get in the game.
Okay, so you laid out a nice little roadmap for us. So let's go ahead and walk down that path. Let's start first with my stuff. I got some tasks I got to do. How do I make them more fun?
Well, you've got a inherently fun job. So connecting with people, learning every day, helping people every day. Boy, you got everything lined up. And so, and I could tell you enjoy what you do already, and that's maybe the most important thing. Are you doing something you enjoy, that you're excited to come to work on? And if you're not, and this is true for the pandemic, a lot of people are, April, we had a record number of people quit their jobs. And you
Yeah.
know what's going on? They had the whole year to think about, is this what I want to do with my life? I want to spend 45 minutes commuting twice a day, and no, it's not. In fact, I don't even like this job, and I don't like these people, and I don't like what we're doing. And here's a chance to reset, reconnect. My wife is a virtual employee, got the job during the pandemic, and she loves working from home, just loves it. And now they're opening up, and they're coming back, and she just said, well, we'll see, because she, in a heartbeat, she will quit and find another virtual job. And so they want her to come in, and initially it was 2 days a week, and it was like, I don't know, and now it's 1 day a week. And even then she's saying, I'll try it. But it's a 45-minute commute and heavy traffic, and the whole time she's thinking, what a waste of time. What a waste of time. I could be working right now instead of bumper to bumper traffic. And she's going to give it, I think, a month and see if coming in 1 day a week is acceptable or not. And if not, she will easily find another job. Easily.
Yeah.
The last few jobs she's had, she hasn't even looked. People have contacted her, and that's what it's about now. My son just took a new job, 100% virtual. They don't have a physical location even. 100. Now, if you got everyone working virtually, we're going to work it out in a way that we're getting the job done, and the company is growing like a weed. So it's this is the new reality. And anyone can make that choice. So that's the heart of it. Having fun at work doesn't have to just be being silly and laughing. It could be doing something that you feel fulfilled at, that you're excited about, it makes you feel better about yourself and what you're doing for mankind and the legacy that we all are going to leave.
Yeah.
And so that's a big one. And now within that, you can have and again, a lot of techniques in the book that we researched, but it could be if you have like a boring task you have to do, or maybe you have paperwork you have to do in your job, and just have to do it, or paying bills or something. Any task you can make fun. There's a technique where you got something that you don't want to spend time doing. Well, set the timer for 20 minutes and see how fast you can get it done. Play a game with yourself, or plan for self-reward. If I finish this before lunch, I'm going to take a break this afternoon and go shopping or go for a walk. I want to do more of that too. So, the kind of playing a game with yourself, really, or having a work buddy where you can check in with. So a lot of strategies. And I think one of the things that was most amazing to me about in doing research for this book, Work Made Fun Get Done, was how broad a spectrum fun is. Because I offhand I define fun as something that I'm laughing at, something I'm having fun with, and that's actually a very narrow spectrum. There's a lot of people that they feel they're having fun if they can listen to music while they're working, or they feel they're having fun if they can at the end of the day feel it was a good day. So
Right.
it's all over the spectrum. So if you open up to that, then you got a lot more possibilities to make it happen. It doesn't all have to be about you. You can get it started in your job and in who you work with in your workplace. But if you're open and encouraging of others and the things that they find are fun, more of it's going to happen sooner.
What I love about that is everything you said right there. All of that kind of fell under one big theme. And that is what's so different about today is we can define fun for ourselves. Not only what it means, like music or playing a game or laughing, but also where we do it, how we do that work, Do we want to go into an office and do the commute? Do we not want to go into the office, do the commute? How do we even reframe the work that we do and try and find meaning in it?
The intentionality, and so to be intentional, you gotta take a minute and think about it. It's like, because everybody generally wants to have more fun at work, and for a lot of people to say, well, that's not the game, that's not the you can work or you can play, but you can't do them both together. Everyone knows that. You work at work and you do what's fun on the weekend, and that's the way it used to be for decades. And it's not that way anymore. Yeah. Today, life is merged. Today you can work from anywhere, and you can have fun from anywhere. When my wife, she's like me, we're 30-year career, and we always were constrained by the amount of vacation she had, because she'd end up taking it, with sick kids or an ailing parent or something, and we'd come to having vacation, we got 2 days, so we did a lot of 3-day weekends for vacations. but I remember her first job she took was virtual. We're in San Diego, and a company hired her out of Austin. They were willing to have her relocate there, but they said, if you don't want to, you can keep working from where you are. And she, yeah, I'll do that. And like the first day, she goes, where do you want to go on vacation? I can work from anywhere. And we kicked it around, and she had never seen the Northern Lights, and we got on a plane. We went to Iceland for 10 days, and it was great. And she made every meeting while we were there, and and then we'd go take the afternoon off and sightsee and have fun. So it was a new awakening, a new opening on we've got greater possibilities of doing the things we want to do.
So I love that. We talk about fun and how we define it for ourselves and how we create a life that allows us to do it in our own time. So now I'm going to take us in a different direction, Dr. Bob. Okay, so now let's talk about fun at work with coworkers. Let's say our goal is we want to create more fun at work. Okay, and I'm going to set it up this way. I had a nonprofit leader. And she's got a small nonprofit that she leads. And she said, our work is very stressful. A lot of nonprofit work is pretty stressful work. And she said, how we would combat it in the past was we would all come into the office and we'd be playful with each other, and we, just have fun with each other. And we'd also share personal things going on with each other. And that was kind of our natural antidote to the stress. She said over the pandemic, we couldn't go into the office. We couldn't see each other. We weren't really doing those things. We weren't really being playful. We weren't really sharing personal things. So all we had left was the stress.
Well, that was a self-contained limitation they put on themselves, because we can't do the things that we did person to person. We can't do on Zoom. But that's a fallacy right there. Anything you could do person to person, well, most anything you could do it on Zoom too. So give you a technique, for example, and person to person is called a praise barrage. And I got this from a friend of mine that worked in management at the city of San Diego, and they would on occasion, when they're together as a group, they would say, okay, hey, we haven't done a praise barrage in a while. Let's take 5 minutes and go around the group, and the manager would, as they pointed to each employee on the team, the game was everyone was to say out loud the things they most value in working with that person. The thing that I really, Charlie, start with Charlie. Charlie's a great team member. He's always willing to pitch in. I love that about him. Okay, Jane, and they would just, in 5-10 minutes, and you can't help but have everyone feel, wow, that's great. And anything you've been called out that you're good at, you can become great at, because you get what you reinforce. This is one of the top rules of performance management is what you reinforce, you will get more of, guaranteed, in any relationship. And so I did my doctoral work on dating back to B.F. Skinner in the a century ago, that what you reinforce, you get more of. And so pay attention to what you want more of and start reinforcing it in any relationship. And so that works. You can do it with index cards, but you can also do it on Zoom. Just because you're not in the same room doesn't mean you can, hey, let's do a praise barrage, and you could do it virtually. The same thing. The comments, 5 minutes, and you start with a pump up that gets you in a different mood, and looking forward to our meeting. Or at I worked with ESPN. A manager would tell me that whenever they have a meeting, they all start the same way. They name 5 things that are going well. 5 things. And usually it's pretty easy because they're all working hard and making results and having progress. But sometimes it's not because things aren't going well. They never skip that step. They still name 5 things because that's their home room. That's their touchstone to get them ready to take on the next challenge. And simple but very powerful.
Yeah, I love that. And making sure. So the big theme I'm hearing in this is intentionality. Right? Being intentional to make it an agenda item and then do it. And we can do that virtually because while some things organically don't happen, but we can plan it.
Well, it can become organic because you start doing it, people get used to it, and someone will say, "Hey, we haven't done a praise barrage in a while." Okay, but it's intentionality, but it's also taking time to focus on the positive. What's the positive? Because everyone has stress and inbound problems and bills and stuff, and so you can get buried in that very easily, and then you can start grousing about it and complaining about it. And my sister has a very stressful job, and every time we see her, 100% of her communication is a dump on you won't believe what happened at work and my boss, and actually 15% of employees or employees on average spend 15% of their time at home complaining about their boss.
Wow.
15% of their time at home complaining about their boss. So that's everywhere.
So I'm self-employed. Am I complaining about me at home? I must be complaining about me at home to my
wife. You
wife.
have to check with Ingrid and your staff there to see what they say when they're
They
at
are
home.
laughing way too much at that, Dr. Bob. I did not like that at all. That was not good.
But wouldn't that be a fair question to say, hey, because self-awareness it's a gift for any of us to see ourselves as others see us, and that only comes through exploration. And so you might say, hey, I know you all are the greatest team, and we've been working together for a long time. Is there anything that I could be doing to appreciate you more? And then maybe
the answer is no.
The
answer is no. I'm doing everything I can possibly do.
Well,
I already know the answer to that.
This is called the Jesus complex.
Wow, that really got laughter. Dr. Bob.
It's hard to improve on perfection, so I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that, and you can decide how much you want to dig there. But it's both reaching out to others, your staff, and having and so I do a lot of I talk about I did my doctorate work on recognition, a non-cost thing, non-monetary recognition, and a lot of times I've done this across the country, hundreds if not thousands of times. On the topic, I'll say, hey, well, let's just start with a little activity. Think by the time you've been recognized. What happened in that that gave you that feeling that you're praised or thanked? Who was involved? What were the specifics? And I take a couple of minutes, and we get I have some call outs from the group, and I've had 1,000 people, and we do take and 99+% of the time, everywhere, across the country, around the world, the things that people call out. No one talks about the size of their paycheck or the fact they were promoted unless it just happened yesterday. Everyone talks about the non-monetary things, personal thanks that came from someone they hold in high regard, starting with their boss or a coworker or upper management, and the email they got or a word that was said in front of the management team or someone taking the time to come in the office just to say, hey, we haven't had a chance to talk in a while. I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate the effort that you're putting in. And where possible, use specifics to make it even more real and credible. But that 99% of the time, that's what comes up. The things, not money, but not even things that cost money. It wasn't the size of the holiday party or it's personal thanks and respect for what you're doing for us and what you're doing for me.
Well,
now who couldn't do that?
Agreed.
Yeah. And so we have, so one of the chapters in the book is on recognition, but that's actually kind of hard to do because I've done books on recognition, and like I mentioned 1,501 ways to reward employees, which is like almost an encyclopedia of 100% actual examples. So this is an epiphany I had, when I was in graduate school. I had the idea for this, and I had a professor we're talking about um, control systems, formal and informal control systems. So he made this offhand comment. He said, as proven as these principles are, probably the most proven in management, is there hasn't been a lot of application in business. And I said, no, I'm going to do something about that. And I got home and wrote out a letter to a New York publisher and spent 2 weeks getting him on the phone. I go, I got this book I want to do. And actually that's kind of a funny story too, because I finally know, I heard his assistant say, "Will you talk to this guy? He keeps calling." And because his publisher goes, "What do you want?" I go, "Yeah, I wrote you a letter about a book." He goes, it cut me off. He goes, "We're not going to respond to a letter. If there's a book you want to do, you got to send us a proposal on how, of the 70,000 books that were published that year, your book has got to be one of them, and we're the only publisher that could possibly get it right." And as he's hanging up, he goes, "By the way, we get 10,000 proposals a year, and we publish 24 books." Click. It's like,
Wow.
okay. Now I could have said, oh well, such is life. It's hard to get published. But I said, hey, game on. Let's do a proposal. And I did, and I got an agent. And next time I talked to the guy, it was face to face in New York City. That came at my expense to talk about the book. And he said he liked the proposal, and he said, yes, this is doable. But he didn't really know about me, so he asked me some questions about myself and what I'm currently doing. And I was an administrator for a Ken Blanchard company and running product development. I said, I'm doing that, but that's not what I really want to do. He goes, oh, what do you really want to do? And I said, be a best-selling author. And I could see this twinkle in his eye, done deal. And that was 25 years ago. The book's now in its 64th printing and has sold 2 million copies. So there you go.
So of that book, and that's a great story, by the way, Dr. Bob, of that book that has still been around for 25 years, is there any one or two nuggets in that book that still hold true today?
Absolutely. And the book was the idea was when I was in my graduate studies. So I actually, people say I got it backwards because I came out with the book before I was finished with my PhD. And it was like, oh my gosh, I sidetracked my whole education. For like 12 years, I was out speaking and stuff. And people said, no, you do your PhD first and then you do a book about it. So I kind of did it backwards. But yeah, the whole premise in a nutshell is catch people doing things right. Which was the premise of the 1 Minute Manager too, by the way, which has sold 18 million copies. So catch people doing things right. Focus on the positive. Be the manager or the coworker that is looking at the bright sides, and not, because we've all had managers that focus on the mistakes and the problems and the complaints, and customer just complained about you. We have a policy against that. We just went over this before. How did you keep screwing up? We've all had that type of manager. And how's that make it fun to come to work? It's like you hate your job, you hate your manager, you hate yourself, and then you drag it home, and you give your spouse and kids a hard time, and they don't want to be with you anymore. So it goes, and you can change all that on a heartbeat by saying, I'm going to focus on the positive. I'm going to focus on the positive, on those people that are most important to me, that make, for any of us, if you look at the short list of the people that are most influential in your happiness and your success, so this, your boss and your spouse and your neighbors and maybe someone at church, and for most of us, that's like maybe a dozen people, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 30. If you look at that list of people, all I have to do is say, for any of them, look at your last 5 interactions. How many of them were positive, and how many of them were negative? Well, then you could pretty easily say this is a negative relationship because it's, 4 out of the last 5 interactions have been a problem, a complaint, a criticism, yeah, that's what they gave me back, and now it's getting deeper, and and I guarantee you, if you change that ratio, and instead of having sour relationships where people really aren't so excited to see you anymore, you have strong relationships and they're excited to see you. Do you? A lot of people can brighten a room when they walk in. Some people brighten it when they walk out. It's like, oh, he's finally gone. So that's a simple choice.
Ingrid and Caroline laughed way too much at that last joke, Dr. Bob. I felt that was a little personal, actually.
Listen,
no.
I'm not going to say anything, but maybe you got some homework to do
This
there.
is turning into a therapy session, Dr. Bob.
I'm turning the tables on you. You're supposed to be interrogating me. I'm getting you in hot water.
Well, Dr. Bob, this has been great. So, believe it or not, we're getting close to the end here. So I ask all my guests this question. What is one life hack you have for us for how we can have better either conversations or relationships at work?
And I think I already shared that. So focus on the positive, on those people that you're dealing with, and call out real things. Not that's a nice outfit, but saying, it really meant a lot to me yesterday when you put your work aside to help on the project I had, because I was up against it, and you didn't give me any grief. You jumped right in. That really made me feel great. And if I can ever repay the favor, I'll be there for you. It's like, wow, that feels good just to say. We're just making up people, But honestly, that will make you feel better. It will make them feel better. You'll have a stronger relationship, and the same with your spouse. I was at a conference once, and from across the room, this person saw me, turned and made a beeline over to me and said, "Your book saved my marriage." I go, "What? What is a book about employees?" I go, No. It made me realize that some of the people that I care the most for, I'm taking them most for granted. Like they'll always be there. And that's a sure sign that they probably won't be there at some point, because you're taking them for granted. If they're really important to you, if they're special to you, if you really do love them, you got to show it in your behavior, buddy. And it doesn't have to be that much. You go out to dinner. Where would you like to go? I always decide where would you like to go? How hard is that? And who cares? Give someone else a say on simple things.
Yeah.
So it starts with that, and they could be all, you can go anywhere from there.
So, Dr. Bob, if people want to pick up a copy of your latest book, Work Made Fun Gets Done, or any of your other books, or follow you, or learn more about you, where can they go?
Well, of course, the book is available wherever books are sold, but we also sell them at discounted prices, cheaper than Amazon, on my website, which is www.drbobnelson.com, and we have a online store, and not all my books, but most of my books are there. And I would. Anyone wants to talk, I love talking about this. I do a lot of speaking. I do consulting on this. I work with organizations to create a culture of recognition, which I'll leave you on this thought, that if you actually take the things we talk about and make it part of the culture where you work, research shows that your employees will feel 5 times more likely to feel valued than if you weren't doing that. They'll be 6 times more likely to recommend where they work as a great place to work to their friends and anyone they know. They'll be 7 times more likely to stay working for you for their career. And this is, I just mentioned, like April, we just had a record number, like 5 million people quit their jobs. Holding on to people is important today.
Yeah.
And in healthcare, we're short 1 million nurses right now, because of the demands of healthcare, and because the population's getting older and the pandemic. And wow, holding on to people is critical. This is the secret sauce to make it happen. And finally, employees will be 11 times more committed to their job, to their manager, to the mission of the organization. Those are some big returns on stuff which starts with not costing any money, just a little awareness, a little time.
Yeah. I'm making some notes. This is fantastic. Okay, so Dr. Bob, thank you. Fantastic. So glad you came on. I've clearly got some homework to do, starting with Ingrid and Caroline, apparently. So
send me a postcard. Let me know how it came out.
I will. I will.
I think you're in good shape, and thanks for being a good sport and joking about it all with me.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Bob, for coming on. I really enjoyed it, and keep up all the great work.
I will just end on this. A second ending is that sometimes I've learned that sometimes we teach what we most need to learn ourselves, and so I've got to constantly be doubling back on this stuff as well.
I think that was another at me. I think you did another one at me, Bob. That's okay.
No, that was all on me.
Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And again, as I said before, keep up the great work. I'm in all seriousness, the world needs it. So I'm so thankful for the work you do.
Thanks for the fun time.
I loved my conversation with Dr. Bob. He really highlighted a few important things that I think we can all take away from. So the first starting place I would want to summarize is he reminds us that all high-performing companies have fun. He talked about that story from the Belmont president that went around and toured high-performing companies and recognized they all had fun. And when I asked Bob, I said, well, how can we have more fun as individuals? He kind of first started by saying, well, create your own kind of fun. Fun means different things to different people. For some people, it's listening to music. Other people, it's having flexibility to kind of work from home. Some people, it's laughing, but define what fun means to you. And what this world is allowing us to do post-pandemic is do a little more job crafting. Create the environment that allows you to have fun in the way that works best for you. And then I pushed Bob a little bit and said, well, what if we want to have fun with our coworkers? What are ways we can do that? And he went real old school on me. And he basically said, look, it's all about recognition. It's all about recognizing folks and trying to catch them doing good things and find those moments where they're doing good things. And he talked about ways we could do that. He talked about a praise barrage where you target a different member of the team and everyone shouts out something positive about what they're doing. He shared the example of ESPN opening meetings by the 5 things that are going well, so you can kind of work those into agendas in your meetings. But generally, he said, you really want to focus on the positive. Focus on the positive and look for opportunities to recognize folks. Things that we know we need to be doing, but we're not doing enough. Now, I would argue if we're working virtually, we have to be even more intentional about doing those things. But Bob also ended by saying, hey, look, if we do those things well, employees are 6 times more likely to refer us, 7 times more likely to stay, and 11 times more likely to be committed to us and the mission of the organization. So all great results. So I guess we've all got a takeaway here. Let's go out and start recognizing the folks that really matter.
Hey everyone, it's Ingrid Schmidt, producer for the Workplace Therapist Show. I wanted to take a minute to say thank you to everyone who's left a comment or review for the podcast. It means so much and gives us great feedback about how we can improve the show so that we can keep bringing you great content to help you in your daily life at work and beyond. Today's review is from Reverend Jeff M. They say, Brandon draws wise and experienced leaders into insightful conversations that will help your office, family, and organizational cultures. I've learned so much. The benefit of non-anxious leadership, organization transition, managing a diverse team, communicating clearly, and so much more. Listen, you won't regret it. Thanks for a great review, Reverend Jeff M., and thank you for listening.